neglected is one of the worst feelings you could have. You feel it through every fiber of your body.
Life was great, life was good, everything was going smooth, had a beautiful house, 5 children. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, one day, everything fell apart. Lost my home, had to come home and tell my wife that we were not gonna have a place to live.
When my husband passed away, we had to come home, and I felt so abandoned and so lonely.
And I just always felt so lonely, and it was just to where I thought that people didn't want me around me. And my friends, I really just didn't too much have many friends, but the ones I did have didn't come and visit me, my own family. Didn't come to check on me regularly. They made an ask about my daughter, but not me.
He's 25, in youth ministry and just recently married. Life is good, until he hears the news that something catastrophic has happened to his beautiful young wife. Without thinking, he starts running to get to her. Nothing will stop him. He must get to her. He must get there on time. She's in critical condition. She may not make it through the night. He will do anything to make sure that he is there for her. He's desperate to tell her, one more time, how much he loves her, how proud he is of her, how wonderful she is. Nothing will get in his way. He has to get to her. This is our goal. Our goal is to reach and share the love of Jesus to those who feel forgotten. We are all busy people. Today's world moves so fast that people get caught up in their own lives, their jobs, their entertainments, that they become blind to the fact that there are hurting people right next to them. Friends, family, or even strangers they pass every day. People who feel forgotten. This is a story about 4 ordinary people who dedicated their lives to a refusal to sit idle, and to gathering people from all countries, all colors, and all walks of life so they can solve the problems they see right before their eyes. There are a few people who make up the core of the Forgotten People team. This is Ryan.
Ryan Martin, he is our discipleship director, and he is the one in charge that when we go to Guatemala, he makes sure that everything is coordinated, is planned, and he's just a great guy. He's lighthearted, makes people laugh, and he's just an amazing guy to be around with.
This is Lori.
Lori is one of the oldest ones on the team, which is cool because it's almost like she's our mother on the team, and when we go on the trips, she's always playing the part as a mother, which is kind of cool. But one of the coolest things is when she's in Guatemala, she translates for us, but she's not like your typical translator that just talks for you and just leaves. She's so much like a pastor. When you preach and whenever you talk, she puts that passion behind it, which is one of the coolest things I've ever been able to experience working with her.
This is Jamie.
Jamie, other than her being my sister, she does all the financial parts of this ministry. She sends the emails, keeps people updated, handles the money part. But other than that, Jamie, she knows how to have fun. She's always happy, and she'll find a way to make people laugh. And she brings a lot of joy to this ministry.
And this is Kyle.
Kyle, I've known him for a very long time, and he is one unique individual. Basically what he does is he takes care of all the videography and takes the pictures and does all the editing, and he does a real good job at what he does, and that's what he does.
That's what I do. That's all I do in this thing. Well, okay.
You got an accent on it. Really like that fun.
We've been friends for a long time, and we really like to have a lot of fun.
A lot of
Fun
fun.
is important in this group. We have to have fun.
Because if not, we get mad at each other and we start like
Yeah.
stabbing each other with pencils and stuff.
We get
Kyle only. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do actually is to eat. When we eat in a group, it
All
like
the time.
it heals us. It's really weird.
Bond
how that
sex.
happens.
It calms Kyle down.
I like to eat a lot of food.
These four can't do it all. These are the faces of some of the many volunteers who help make the vision real. They go to events, promote, raise money, and countless other tasks that keep things running. You may ask how this all got started. Where did this idea come from? Where did it all begin?
The church that I've been a part of for a couple of years, we do this event called The Awakening every single year, and basically we wanted to gather a bunch of youth together this year and encourage a lot of people to give towards missions. And knowing that Lori does missions, I ended up contacting her.
After Kyle contacted me, I had been a missionary since 2007 in Guatemala, and I was very familiar with the family there in the area. And when he told me that he wanted to do a mission trip, I definitely wanted to help them. And so I did all the planning, and we took a flight continental to Guatemala City, and then we took a little charter flight plane from the city to the mountains, about 40 minutes away from the city. And as we arrived, we were greeted by the family, and it was really good to see them. And after a while, we went up to the first village, and it took us about 2 to 3 hours to get there. And what we saw there in those villages was quite amazing.
Yeah, I had never actually, I wasn't expecting, I guess, the culture shock that I was a part of. It was so weird. 3 hours away, I was in a completely different setting. We saw just the clothes look majorly different. The way they lived looked majorly different, and it was the coolest thing for me.
Now the culture, of course, is different. They're Mayan descendants, so of course the dressing and just it's very isolated and beautiful at the same time. But no electricity, no water, a lot of needs that they needed, to be provided. But it was just very. It was just a great moment and experience to be up there, to be able to know what they needed, and even though they lacked schools and they lacked even homes and water and all, the first thing they asked for was a church. It's something that they had been praying for many years, over 20 years.
Yeah, so I had ended up filming the video, making this documentary that was about 15 minutes long, and The Awakening comes up, and basically there's a crazy amount of like technical difficulties to where we weren't even able to show the documentary. So I was kind of like, what's going on? Well, we ended up still getting on stage, talking to him about the project, and we were able to raise $7,000, which was able to complete the first church.
In order to understand the dynamics of this team and their vision, we have to go back to the year 2007, when it all began with a man who took a step of faith, a man named Roscoe.
There he was, standing there in a pair of overalls, big, tall, gallant man, but a simple man, and he asked if he could speak to the senior pastor. I got all flustered because I didn't know how to handle this because it's so out of our protocol. I says, I'm the senior pastor, come on in. I sat him down and I didn't know what he wanted, and he began to tell me that he was a missionary of 19 years in Guatemala, that he had an education of like up to the 3rd grade, and while he was sitting there, my heart went out to him. I could feel the Holy Spirit all over him, and he began to tell me of all the churches that he had set up in Guatemala in the past 19 years, and how many feeding stations and orphanages that he had set up. We were in. I personally was in. New Covenant Church was all in.
On November 19th, 2007, Roscoe's sudden death shocked everyone who knew him and brought his ministry to a sad halt.
Roscoe Canada, the missionary here in Guatemala, passed away. He died just yesterday. And myself and Lori, we jumped on a plane and got here the same day. And we missed a procession last night. There was over 500 people that have gathered around Roscoe's house. Right now, as I'm talking to you, behind me in that building is Roscoe's. He's laying in state right now, and they're having a wake. People from all over are coming to show their respect for Roscoe, and they are mourning.
He wasn't a pastor of his own church.
The impact that Roscoe had on the Guatemalan people was quite profound. The people were in great mourning, grieving. You could hear wailing probably from miles away. When I arrived there were hundreds and hundreds of people that covered the property. When we headed to the funeral site, buses were packed, trucks were just loaded with people even walking. It was quite an amazing experience just to watch.
And the sound from the thought, and the thought from the light.
We had no idea that 4 years after this had happened, that God was gonna ordain a team of people to keep this man's ministry going. After the awakening, we didn't really do anything after that, and I decided to get my friend Ryan to just basically talk to him about going back out to Guatemala.
During the awakening, we were supposed to raise money for 5 churches, and because of technical difficulties, we only got to raise money for 1 church.
So we only had 3 weeks before we actually went out to Guatemala, and Ryan tells me that he thought that we should raise money for the 2nd church. I was personally excited about building this church because when the last trip that we went up there and we met the people that were in this 2nd village that we were supposedly going to build this church for, it was a cool story because this lady, we actually show up there and we meet this lady, and this lady's blind. She can't see at all, and this lady had been walking 2 to 3 hours up and down these mountains trying to just go to church. We ended up getting all of our friends together and we were telling them how passionate we were about getting this church up. So we told them all that we needed their help raising $6,000. So we got 30 of our friends and we ended up telling them to raise $200 each, which obviously raises $6,000. And then on top of that, we get this random phone call from this Independence Day for Guatemala event that was happening at the Civic Center, and we ended up going there, and they turned this whole secular event into helping us raise the money for these churches.
So after that, we ended up getting a phone call from a random church in Dallas, and they said that they're sending us a check for $1,500.
It was crazy to see people literally catching this vision, people from everywhere, churches from Dallas, churches everywhere were just coming and joining with us and saying we wanted to help you. And really honestly, that's how we would say that this ministry even started, was because of so many people catching wind of this and catching interest in this and really coming behind us and helping us do this.
After raising the money, 3 weeks flew by so fast, and it was time to pack up and fly to Guatemala.
Yeah, you can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You can beat the world, you can beat the war, you can talk to God, go banging on his door. You can throw your hands up, you can beat the clock, you can move a mountain, you can break rocks.
We ended up getting back in Guatemala. This is Nayo right here. This is Nayo. He is one of the guys that runs this place. And we get in this little bitty truck and it starts taking us all the way up the mountain. We start going 2 to 2.5 hours up the mountain. So then once we get out of the truck, we end up starting to have to climb, literally with backpacks on our back, and start hiking up these mountains. And it's just non-stop uphill, which is really hard for people of my size.
Breaking all the records they thought never could be broke. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. And you're ever gonna know if you never even try. Do it for your country.
When I think of a mission trip, this is exactly what I think of: climbing a mountain into a village of unreached people group. And not only that, looking into Pastor Francisca's face as we tell her that we raised the money to build them a church.
Pastora Francisca, está Pastor Caudillo, Dios me le bendiga. Thank you, Father, that you're here, that you've already arrived. Oh, glory be to God that you're here. Oh, blessed be the Father. Thank you so much.
Sí, así es usted. Gracias a Dios.
Thank you.
I'm coming to a place where there is change.
Oh, the Lord loves you.
Dios te ama. Dice Pastor Kyle, Dios te
He
ama.
loves you.
Él te ama.
Amén, hermano. Gloria al
The
Señor.
Lord hears your prayers.
Y el Señor
Así
escucha
es.
sus oraciones.
Amén.
Stay faithful.
Manténgase
Aleluya.
We
sí,
love you.
sí.
Nosotros le amamos.
Amén.
This is not us.
Esto no es de nuestra parte.
You don't have this church because of us.
Usted no tiene este templo por el trabajo de nosotros.
It's all about Jesus.
Todo es por Jesús.
It's all about Jesus.
Todo se trata de Él.
Gracias a Dios.
So it was just such an amazing experience to see how thankful they all were. Pastor Francisca, her family, people coming from just other places just to thank us and greet us, and they were just so thankful. It was a good moment.
To me, it was awesome because if you think about how unreal, this lady had been praying for years and years, and this lady's blind, but she'd been praying for years that somehow, magically, that some church would just pop up in her village. There's no money here, there's no resources there, there's nothing. And to me, it was the coolest thing to see how God had just ordained us to come and randomly meet this lady, and us be able to get our friends together to raise the money and see this lady's face when we tell her that she has this church. It was the most incredible thing to me.
While we're on this mission trip, one of the main pastors told us about this family of 8 children whose father recently passed away of alcohol.
When I heard about this family, my heart just immediately connected with them because I had, lost my mother whenever I was 13, and I've lost so many other family members, in my life. And for me, I immediately I knew how they felt. I knew what was going on in the family, and I wanted to get there. I wanted to see what it was like.
Te cante a ti.
The conditions that Maria and her children lived in were quite unbearable to me. The house was cracked. It was made out of adobe. It was unsafe for the children. They were sleeping on dirt. No electricity. We knew that we had to do something.
Looking into these kids' eyes and looking into their faces and just seeing how beautiful these kids were, I just pictured the same kid in America, and this kid sleeping on dirt in America, and this kid having no food, having no water, having no electricity in America. And I thought about how fast Americans would have grabbed this kid and tried to take care of him. But what was so weird is this kid's in Guatemala, and that wasn't able to happen. So what I decided to do right there is I just started shooting with my camera. I started filming everything that was there, and we ended up, when we got back to America, we put this video together, and we ended up putting it on the internet and sharing it, and the response was crazy.
So when we came back from our mission trip, we knew that the response that we had from the people, that we had to formalize and legalize this ministry. So thank God that Jamie and Ryan's mom, Pastor Michelle Martin, we were able to go under her 501c3 with her ministry of WWMOR, and therefore we were able to do all of the process of going to banks, talking to people, accountants, and being able to put everything in order, so that way that we could be prepared to receive all the help that we were getting from all of the people that were responding to what we were doing.
So we came up with this idea to allow our friends and family to give monthly to our organization, and people were giving $10, $20, $30, even $100 a month. And on top of that, we had people that were giving money to Maria and her family and side projects that we have.
I ended up staying up for hours and hours at night putting together these videos for these different projects that we had experienced over there. And I ended up calling a bunch of churches. Our other team starts calling a bunch of churches and gets us into churches in Dallas, and this Grace Church here in Humble, and events and different things like that, to where we were able to go there, show our 3-minute little videos, and we were able to ask for money, and people were able to come and give us money. And really, we just started seeing this ministry started literally just unfolding right before our eyes.
Little did they know, what happened next would ignite a passion that would kindle in the hearts of hundreds.
After we had legalized everything in the ministry and put all the paperwork in order, and we were able to also receive all the funds, and the money were now in the accounts, we knew that we still had to do one thing, and that was to take a trip together, because Jamie had not been on a mission trip, and we knew that all of us four had to travel together to Guatemala. And we knew that when this happened, it was the beginning of something new.
We had been spending hours and hours at the church all the way up until 2 in the morning, just working, processing, doing everything that we could to make this ministry go. And I was so excited because we were able to get back out to Guatemala with the whole team. And we were just super excited. We knew that this was going to be something incredible. This was going to be something that we would have never forgot.
Time has numbered my days, and I'll go along with everything you say. But I ride home laughing, look at me now. To the walls of my town, they come crumbling down. And my knees in a corner, and I know that choice is color all I've done. But I'll explain it all to the watchman's son. I never lived a year better spent in love.
You okay? You okay?
I'll believe in grace and joy.
One of the things that you do in America is if you really want chicken or if you want any kind of food, you just go through the drive-thru and it's literally in your hands less than 3 minutes. And one of the things that we try to do when we are in Guatemala is to get to know their culture, because eating chicken for them is not just going to Chick-fil-A and getting chicken. Eating chicken to them actually takes time because you have to make your own chicken. Tell her I don't want to cut her. No, right? Hey.
Okay, what do you guys say, Kyle?
Okay, I know this is evil, but this is what we eat every day, okay? We're gonna kill a chicken. Hey, Ryan, how do you feel? What are you gonna do, Ryan?
I feel like a murderer.
He's about to cry.
Ryan, don't cry.
Brian.
Okay.
Another cool experience that we had in Guatemala was a 3-year-old little girl's birthday party, and in the backyard they were killing a pig.
So we're here, we're fixing to have a birthday party, and we're fixing to kill this pig to eat it. Exciting. Let's do it. Gail! Get your...
Ryan, don't touch the camera!
No, don't touch the camera! Gail! You okay?
Bro, that was the most intense birthday party I've ever been to.
Yeah, the girl was only 3 years old that they were murdering this pig at. Wow.
After being there for a day or so and having our fun on this trip, we knew that some things were beginning to happen, and we started to know the reasons why we were really there.
That we were able to experience was a Mayan festival where these people were dancing to their gods.
They are celebrating all the gods and all the saints. It's a combination of their Catholic religion, also combined to their Mayan ritual religion. So there is a combination of many things going on. They're dancing, they're partying, alcohol is involved. You can really see the lost souls here. You can feel the oppression. There is a demonic presence here, but we're covered in the blood of Jesus. We're good. But this is what it's all about. This is what we're here to do, to work.
When I showed up with my camera, I got out of the vehicle immediately, just hearing the music that was being played and seeing the people dressed up in these costumes. You can immediately just feel how demonic, and I've never felt like spiritual oppression before, and I started feeling just this heaviness, this grossness of all these lost people just literally just dancing to their gods. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced.
I started noticing that people were just laid out on the ground. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if they were dead or what was going on, but the more people I started to see that were just laid out on the ground, I started to notice that these people were drunk. You know, it's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and these people are already drunk, laid out, passed out.
So when we're there, Kyle tries to get the best footage that he can, and in order for him to do that, he's like has to be right in the middle of what's happening, trying to get the moment of it. And quickly we began to notice that the officials were getting angry with us, and we soon to find out that we're not very welcome there.
So I'm in there just taking advantage of it, and I'm just filming. I'm right in the middle of everything, and you know, I start noticing that, you know, my team is behind me, and they're watching just to make sure everything was okay, and that, you know, because we have these expensive cameras, and they end up asking us to get out, and that we, you know, we couldn't be there anymore.
When we go to Guatemala to visit these villages, we have a pastor there that is in contact with everyone, and he's the one that is our connection. Pastor Rene is in charge of making sure that we are informed of those villages that need help, either to build a church or to meet the needs of the people. And because he's well known in that area, he's been there for over 16 years, he's very trustworthy, very dependable. And we make sure that the monies go directly to him so that he can disperse of it adequately. And one of the things that we like to do is make sure to travel there, climb up these mountains, meet the people in the villages, make sure that the work is being done. And so in this village, Las Joyas, we noticed that the foundation needed to be finished for this church, that the pastor did not have enough money to finish the work. So we were there to be able to provide that need for them.
They have been waiting all day for us to arrive. And Pastor Rene said, you know, they're prepared, they're all waiting, and that's exactly what happened. As soon as we got up here, they were all expecting us.
And if you're putting your hope in how to make your life better.
Que si ustedes están poniendo la esperanza en cómo
For me, I looked at this church, and I saw the need that was there, and one thing that I did is I immediately just thought up an idea of how we could raise the money to finish this foundation. So what we ended up doing when we got back to America was we got a bunch of teams together, and we spread them out throughout the city, and they're standing on intersections, and we had people just walking around with buckets and pictures of, you know, people from Guatemala, and just basically saying, hey, will you help us, you know, finish this church? And through that, we were able to raise all the money that we needed to complete it, and we did it.
I will search all through the night. I will search all through the
One of the things that we try to do when we go into Guatemala, we go into the city, is we try to make the biggest impact that we can to show them who God really is. And one of the cool things that we were able to do was to meet with the mayor of this city, because he was noticing things that were happening, you know, through the team.
This mayor wasn't a Christian, but he knew that something was happening in this village, and we all just looked at each other and just knew that it was all a God thing.
We're not here just to help. We're here to make an impact, to change people's lives, an everlasting change, not just a small change. And that's one thing that we kept on stressing with the mayor, is that we're here to stay and to make an impact on people's lives in this village and in the surrounding areas.
Okay, we're gonna go up, and it's gonna be steep, so hold on.
So this is a cool story. We actually just drove about an hour and a half to 2 hours up to this village that nobody's ever come to. Literally, they say that these people have never even seen Americans. They've never even seen a white person before. And the village here is called Baja Pop. And basically, these people don't even speak Spanish. They speak their own language, which is crazy. So we're really excited to be here. We're bringing them food. We're just gonna see what we could do up here, and we're just gonna preach the word, and it's awesome.
This was one of the poorest villages that we visited. We brought them food, and we were able to pray with them, and we were also able to give them the word, and so it was just a blessing to us to be able to bless them.
This village was different because whenever I would preach, Lori would translate for me, and then another translator would be translating from Lori to their language. Stay encouraged, stay strong. So, these people in the mountains, no one comes up to them ever. And that's our goal, is to bring churches and food to them, to make them feel like they're loved, and to show them Jesus.
One of the main reasons why we had to return to Guatemala was to visit Pastor Francisca and her husband, both of them pastor in El Tupal, this village that is very difficult to climb to, but we knew that we had to go back because we were just excited to know that their prayer had been answered, and the second church had now been finally built there by her house. So in the moment that Kyle and I reached up the mountain and we saw them, it was quite an amazing moment.
So, I just found out that she would walk anywhere to 2 hours. And by the way, this lady is blind. She's blind, and she would walk with her husband 2 hours down the mountain to a church building, and then 2 hours back up.
I just seen so many pictures of her and videos of the people there that lived up there, and I was just so happy to meet them and be able to hug them and tell them that I love them, and it was just a moment that highlighted the whole trip for me.
The moment that I saw this church building that months ago we had just raised all the money for it to be built, and
She says, a blessing, now we have the church. Yes, my brothers.
the building's right there in front of us. The first thing I wanted to do was really just to thank the Lord. And
here's a second church that y'all helped us build. We could have not done this without y'all. Pastor Francisca is really excited to show us the new church. Here it is.
So what was so cool is we were able to go into this church, just us and the family, and literally we just all got on our knees at the altar and really just started thanking God. And what was the most incredible moment for me was when Pastor Francisca and her husband they were praying with us. They ended up gathering all around us and started praying over us, and it was the most intense prayer that I've ever had anyone pray over me ever in their life. It was the most intense prayer that I've ever experienced in my life, and it was just so cool to see how thankful these people were.
We were able to visit Maria and her children again. This time, this visit would be different because the first time there was a problem that we had seen in the conditions that they were living in. But now, the second time that we were there, we were able to place them in a new home.
As we're walking up to the house, you see these little kids cleaning dishes, cleaning their toys, getting all the toys packed up, and you just see a huge smile on their face. They're so happy to leave.
This is what I want our ministry to be about, is to actually go into homes, into families' lives, and actually make an impact in them. And the coolest thing is whenever they're looking at you and they're saying thank you, you get to turn to them and say, listen, this isn't us. Like without God, we would have never been able to do this. And it's so cool just to point to Jesus the entire time this is happening.
Before the power
We had heard word that a lot of people from several villages of the churches that we had built wanted to get baptized. And there were a few adults, but many of them were actually young adults. And we took them by a river, and there is this area, it's almost like a hot tub, but they call it tapila, and it's from a natural spring. It's warm water. And we were able to baptize over 20 people.
So we're here where we're going to be baptizing people down here in this river, and basically these people that you see over here have actually come down from the villages, and there's some from both of the churches that we've built. And what's cool is now we have the opportunity to actually baptize some of the people here who have gotten saved there and really just accepted Jesus. So we're going to do it.
But there was one special story in particular that really meant a lot to our team. There was this young girl at the age of 13 that had lost a parent, had lost her father, and that related a lot to Kyle's story. Kyle lost his mom at the age of 13, and it's been over the several years now that he's met over 40 young adults at that same age of 13 years old that they had lost a parent. And in all the countries that he's traveled to, he's always meeting someone that's 13 years old that has lost a parent. So we knew that this was going to be very special for Kyle as well as for us.
One of the cool things about my testimony is that my mom died whenever I was 13, and since then I've now met over 39 people that their parents have died either at the age, or their parents have died while they were 13. And what's cool is in every single country I've been to, I've met one person that their mom or their father had died at 13. And this girl, her father actually passed away when she was 13, so this is a really cool moment for us. So, awesome, and it's Maria's daughter. That's awesome. So, Austin, you want to hold the nose? Start baptizing.
Down in the main village, there in the village of Chihol, we hear word that Sophia is someone that comes to help out there in the main house, and her and her 3 children actually go and help out. And we were told that her living conditions were quite horrible, so we decided to go up to her home and climb up the mountain and just check out to see what was going on and to see what we could do to help her. And what we encountered was quite unbelievable. It really took our breath away. It changed, I could say for the entire team, it changed our lives.
This lady had a husband that had ended up going to America to work, and he ends up never coming back. And she's, left way up in this mountain by herself with her 3 kids in this house that was a makeshift house, that the wood from the house was actually borrowed, And it was, you look at the structure, and wind can blow through this house like crazy, which made it cold being up in the mountains. You look at the bed, and this bed is literally just plywood just propped up on, tree branches that they broke off. And you look at the size of the entire house, and it's not even the size of a teenager's bedroom that we have here in America. And I'm just looking at this, and I'm just in complete disbelief of what was happening in front of my eyes.
So they put firewood in there, and then they put water, and then they lay down on this side, and the vapors of the water come through there, and that's how they it's just a vapor bath type.
You are wonderful, so wonderful, Jesus. Sing his name, Jesus.
I'm sitting there on their dirt floor filming them worshiping, and I end up, I stopped filming, and they kept going. They kept singing, and I could honestly say that I've never felt the presence of God more than I have in that moment. And I just started thinking to myself, like, living here in Houston, thinking about churches that I've been to, and just church that you go to, and not criticizing them, but churches here get so caught up in staying by the service flows, and going up whenever you're supposed to go up, and making sure the music is perfect. And I just thought it was so cool how in this wooden makeshift home way up in the mountains, these people got it. These people felt the presence of God, and it was just, for me, it was very convicting, but it just made me so happy to see them worshiping God, and feeling the presence without anything.
Seeing Sophia and her beautiful children worship the Lord in such a way that they just gave their hearts at that moment entirely into worshiping Jesus. And yet, in the back of my mind, I knew that this problem could be fixed. That it just takes one person in America to fix this problem. There is a problem, but the solution is easy.
Come on, sing it out.
Stories like this that we literally cannot stop. We can't stop running. We cannot stop fighting. Just showing these people up in the mountains, these people anywhere, that there is a God who loves them, and there is a God who sees purpose in them. And we just want to do everything that we can to push and to keep fighting to get this to them, to show these people that there is a God who loves them more than anything in this world.
You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust.
have gotten used to seeing a problem and maybe hoping that someone else would take care of that problem. But the truth is, we want to be the ones that if we see a need to be met, then we meet it. That if there is a problem that we know we can fix, then we fix it. We want to be the people to be active in knowing that we're going to respond, that when we see a group of people that is in need, when we see a child that is hungry, when we see a widow that needs to be taken care of, when we know that we can fix the problem, then we have the power to do it. We can take care of it. And we're not going to stop. And we're not going to quit. And we're going to fix this. We're going to be part of the solution.
Me living in America, and if I was to lose my home, if I was to lose my car and my job, and I was thrown out onto the streets living under some bridge, I know that I would have countless people coming looking for me and making sure that I was safe, making sure that I had food, or just looking for me and taking care of me. And people in Guatemala, they don't have that person. They don't have someone to go out looking for them and making sure that they're okay.
In this ministry, yes, it's hard. Talking to people, trying to get them to understand. Times get hard. We have opposition. There will be times where we do get discouraged, but we're not going to stop. We're not going to ever stop. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to fulfill this purpose, our calling, personal calling, and as a team calling, until God calls us otherwise.
My prayer is that people see this video and see other videos we've done and really just see the entire picture of what we're trying to show, and really just get people around us, anyone and everyone that we know, and join together and really make an impact together.
This isn't just another video or a problem that you've seen on TV, but this is actually something that you can do something about.
There's no place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be than hearing you love, hearing you love.
There is beauty all around us. It is in the deserts of the darkest parts of Africa. It is in the rainforests of the Amazon, and it is in the mountains of Guatemala. And if you look closely, you will see it in the eyes of the children and in the smiles of the grandmothers and grandfathers. Everyone has value. Everyone has beauty and worth. Everyone was created with purpose and destiny. They may not know it. They may not can see it, but we do. In our dreams, we see them as whole. We see them set free by a newfound hope. We see them full of joy because they now know the love of Jesus. We will not stop. Neither death nor life, principalities nor things to come will deter us from our mission. We must reach those who are forgotten.
Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. nothing but the blood of Jesus.
Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more